Alright, number 5, the first thing that you need to look at is whether we're dealing with an ellipse that is horizontal or vertical. Which is it? Vertical. Now, since it's vertical, that automatically means that the major axis is the y-axis, which would mean the minor axis is the x-axis. Okay, now, isn't the major axis the longer axis within the ellipse? Isn't A the larger number out of A and B? So I would start, when you write major, go ahead and write A equals out beside it, and then you'll know that A goes with Y for this equation. And that means B will go with X. Okay, for the major axis, from the center to the top is how many units? Well, from the center to the top is only 5, but the center down is also 5 for a total of 10. But wouldn't that make the A value 5? Because the A value was just half of the total distance from the center up or the center down. The minor axis from the center is how many units?
6.
Well, 3 for a total of 6. So your B value is 3. Your total minor axis is 6 units. Any questions so far? Okay, now we also need to find the center. Where is the center located for this ellipse? Right, 0, 0. And that information is useful because that's our what? What are those two numbers? Well, normally a point is an X and Y, but for the center of the ellipse, it's called H and K. Okay, now, just pay attention. Okay, don't write, just pay attention. I'll give you time to catch up. You would have ended up getting x squared plus y squared equals 1. Under the x, we put the b value. 3 squared is 9. Under the y, we put the a value and square it, so you get 25. So that's what you should have got for your equation of this ellipse. Hold on one second. Now, really, the equation looks like this. X minus h squared over, for this one, b squared, plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. But why do we only have x squared and y squared and no h and k? Because the h and k are 0. So technically, the real equation is x minus 0 squared over 9 plus y minus 0 squared over 25 equals 1. But when you simplify that, you don't write the zeros. That's why we just end up with x squared and y squared. So for any ellipse centered at the origin, that's why you only have x squared and y squared, because the h and the k were both zeros. But today, we're working with ellipses that are no longer centered at the origin. Where is the center of this located? 3, 1. Because to get to the center of that ellipse, you have to go right 1, 2, 3 units and down 1. So now that we've found the center, we now know the h and the k. Okay, and remember in the equation, the h goes with the x, the k goes with the y. So when you start filling those in, oh yeah, thank you. So when you start filling these in, it'll be x minus your h value, which is 3, and then y minus your k value, which is negative 1. So what happens right there? Plus 1. And now we need to know the a and the b, correct? Well, which axis for this one? Is this horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. So that would make the major axis the x-axis. And the minor axis will be the y-axis. Okay? How long is the major axis? Let's see. That's 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4 from the center, so a total of 8. Making the a value 4. from the center to the top is how many units? Well, you're not listening. From the center to the top is 2, so your B is 2, but your length of your minor axis is 4. Okay, this is major, and this is minor. So now that we know our A and B, we can plug them in. A goes with X, so under the X we'll put 4 squared. And then the Y goes with the B, so under the Y we put the 2. And now in the next step, we just simplify everything. X minus 3 squared over what? 16 plus Y plus 1 squared over 4 equals 1. And then, oh, right here they gave us blanks for the length of the major axis. What was the length of the major axis? 8. And what was the length of the minor? 4. Now, before we do foci, because it's a little bit different since your center is no longer at the origin, we're going to try this one more time, and then we'll come back and do foci in a second. Okay, so second example. This time we're dealing with what kind of ellipse? Vertical. It says it for you right there. That means the major axis is the y-axis this time. And the minor axis is the x-axis. Now remember, your major axis is your longer one. So wouldn't that correlate to A because A is bigger than B? And so this time the minor axis is x and it correlates to B. So for the major axis, from the center to the top is how many units? 4. Okay, so your A value is 4, but the total length of the major axis is 8. From the center to the side is how many units? 2. So your B value is 2, but think about it. The whole length would be 4, because you have to double those numbers to get the entire length. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is everybody with me, or is anybody confused on that part? Okay, so now we have our A and B. So we have numbers to plug in there and there. What else do we need? Our center. We need our H and our K. Where is the center of this ellipse located? -2, -3. So that's your H and your K. So now we're ready to plug in. X minus H would become X plus 2. Because a minus and -2 is plus 2. Y minus K would become plus 3. Because a minus and -3 becomes plus 3. And then under the X this time, you're putting your B value, because that's the minor axis. And so 2 squared. And then under the Y value, you're putting your A, 4. Now you just start simplifying. X plus 2 squared over 4 plus Y plus 3 squared over 16 equals 1. So does everybody feel comfortable writing the equation of ellipse when its center is not the origin? Well, we're going to do a lot more practice. The only difference today is you no longer have just x squared and y squared. You have numbers for h and k because the center has moved. Everything else is the same as yesterday. What? Yeah, well, that's why I saved it. Because it's no different. It just becomes a little more complicated because of it moving. Okay, but just pay attention. Okay, the equation for foci is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Well, we already have all the information we need to do that. The a is 4, so when you square it, you get 16, minus the b is 2. When you square it, you get 4, and so we end up with c squared equaling 12. And now to solve for c, what do you do to both sides? Square root it. Okay, so c equals the square root of 12, which is 3.5. That means on the major axis, you're going to move 3.5 units away from the center on each side. So just stop what you're doing for a second and just watch, and then I'll give you time to write it. Okay, so here's my center. If I move 3.5 units to the right, it'll be 1, 2, 3.5, correct? And if I move 3.5 units this way, it'll be 1, 2, 3.5. So I've plotted my two foci. Now, that's the easy part. Now you've got to write the coordinates of those 2 points. And the reason it gets a little more difficult is because they're not always whole numbers now. Okay, so to get to this pink dot, let me zoom in so we can see it really well. Okay, to get to this pink dot, this first focus point, don't I have to move from the origin 6.5 units and then down 1? So your first foci is 6.5, negative 1. Then to get to your second focus point, from the origin to get to this point, what do you have to do? To get to that point, you got to go negative 6.5. Negative 0.5, right? And then negative 1. Well, I haven't the video for some reason. Now let's go down and find the foci for the second example. Okay, so remember, the formula for foci is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So c squared equals what minus what? 16 minus 4, which gives us c squared equals 12, and we just did that, so we know c equals 3.5. But this time, remember, your foci always go on your major axis, so this time they have to go up and down away from the center. Okay, so watch. 1, 2, 3.5. So right there's the first one. And then the second one will be down 1, 2, 3.5. So now that you've plotted them, you just have to write the coordinates. This point is left 2 and then up 0.5, right? So its coordinates are negative 2.5. This focus point is also left 2, so negative 2, but then you have to go down how many units to get to it? 6.5, so negative 6.5. So see, it's no different than yesterday. It's just that when you do the focus, or the foci, you're no longer starting at the origin and counting. You're starting from wherever the center is and counting. So sometimes they end up in places that aren't as easy to tell where they are. Okay? Alright, now let's go to 21 and try some of the classwork. So everybody flip to 21. It's because the air came on. You can shut the window, but it's not going to help with the cold because it's coming. As soon as it cuts off, it'll get hot again. Okay, for these, they want you to identify the center, the foci, the length of the major and the minor axis, and write the equation. So here we go. Number 1, is this horizontal or vertical? Vertical, because it's taller than it is wide, which automatically means the major axis is the y-axis. And the major axis is always the longer one, so that would correlate to which letter? A. Remember, isn't A always greater than B? So A will always go with the major axis. A is always half of the major axis. That means the minor axis has to be the x, and that correlates with B. Okay, so how long, now this gets tricky because look at this graph. I'm going to zoom in on it. It is going by what? 2's. So you got to be careful here. So when I try to find the major axis, which is y, up and down, from the center, watch me count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want me to show that again? Because look, they're jumping by 2. So this is 1, that's a 3, that's a 5. So from here at negative 1, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So if it's just 6 units from the center, doesn't that mean it's also 6 units down for a total of 12? But that makes your A value 6. Your A value is always half of your major axis. Okay, now for the minor axis. Okay, from the center, they're also going by 2. So you got to count like every space. You got to count every line and every middle space as a unit. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if there's 4 on this side, isn't there 4 units on this side for a total of 8? And that would make the B value 4. So we've now found the major and the minor axis lengths and the A and B. We now need to find the center of this hyperbola. I mean, not hyperbola, ellipse. 3, negative 1. Right, because you have to go right 3 units. 1, 2, 3, and down 1. Now, what's important about the center? It's our H and K, which is part of the equation, so we need it. So now we have everything we need to know to write the equation. So it'll be x minus h, which is 3, and you square that, plus y minus k, which is correct, and then square that, and then equals 1. Right, now, if you're having trouble remembering like where A and B goes, you just need to remember, since the major axis is the y-axis, the bigger number has to go under y, and the smaller of the numbers has to go under x. So that's why I write it out like this when I'm writing everything, so that I see right away, okay, y goes with A. So under the y, I put the 6 and I square it. And then x goes with B. So under the x, I put the 4 and I square it. Does that make sense? Okay, now we've got the equation of this ellipse. So now we need to find the foci. The equation for foci is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Well, what will your a squared be? 36 minus your b squared, 16, and that becomes c squared equals 20. And then to solve for c, what do? Square root it, and so c equals the square root of 20, which is 4 point, I'm going to round it if it's in there like 4.4, something above 5 or greater, so 4.5. Plus, it really makes it easier when it is a decimal if it's at least something 0.5. It's easier to figure out on the graph. Okay, so I'll give you a second to make sure you've got it. Okay, so we got 4.5 for our c value. So from the center, are we moving up and down 4.5 or left and right 4.5? Right, because think about it. If you tried to move right 4.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, you would be outside the ellipse, right? Your foci always have to be on the major axis, which for this one is the y-axis. So here we go. That's 1 unit. That's 2 units. That's 3 units. 4. That would be 5, so wouldn't 4.5 be about right there? Okay, then we have to go down 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5 would be the next line, so, 5 would have been the next line, so 4.5 is like right there. Now let's talk about the easiest way to figure out where those coordinates are. Well, first of all, both of the foci points have an x value of what? 3. Because to get to both of those foci, don't you have to move right 3 units? Now, to think about the y value. Didn't you just add 4.5 units to a negative 1? So what's 4.5 units added to a negative 1? 3.5. And think about that. Doesn't that yellow dot look like it's about 3.5? Because that green line is 3, because they're going by 2s. And then that yellow dot right in between the 3 line and the 4 line, 3.5. Okay, so to get this y value of this dot, you started at negative 1, and then you went down 4.5. So what's negative 1 minus 4.5? Negative 5.5. And when you look at it, doesn't that point look like it's down 5.5 units? Because that would be negative 5, and then it right in between the negative 5 and the negative 6 line. Okay, are y'all ready to try number 2 by yourself? Okay, just try everything you can. Even if you can't finish it, try to get as much information as you can, and then I'll go over it. Okay, number 2, horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Which automatically means the major axis is the x-axis. Because remember, horizontal is side to side, and the x-axis is side to side. Now, the major axis always corresponds to what letter, A or B? A. A is always the larger number. And then that means the minor axis is the y-axis, and it corresponds to the B. Okay, so for the major axis, here's where you start at the center. They're going by twos, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, right? But that's just from the center to the side. So the total length of the major axis is 12. The A is 6, because the A value is just from the center to the side. Okay, for the minor axis, you go up 1, 2, 3. So your B value is 3, making your entire length 6. Okay, now we need to find the center. Where is the center located? 1, 4. And that's your H and your K. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 1. If you're having trouble knowing what number goes where, look up here. The major axis always goes with A. So under the x, we'll put that 6 and square it. And then the minor axis this time goes with the B. So under y, we put the B value and square it. So there's your equation. Now we have to find the foci, which is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Well, what is your a squared going to be? 36, and then minus your b squared will be 9. And so c squared equals, and you square root that, and the square root of 27 is 5.2. Okay. Unfortunately not. Okay, so the foci always go on the major axis. So look, from here, 5.2 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just a teeny bit past that. And then 5.2 this way would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.2. Now when we go to write those two coordinates, both of them have a y value of what? 4. Their y values are both the same. They're both up 4. But this one is how many units from the origin? Look, -2, -4, and how much past it did we go? 0.2. So -4.2, right? And then this one, you have to go 6.2 to get to it, and then up 4. Okay, your homework is to finish this page, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Tomorrow we're going to practice everything. We're not learning anything new. Tuesday, when you get back from the break, we're having a quiz over it all. Over ellipses. Y'all's CDA will not be next week, but the next. No, it'll be that Monday. Everything's going to be landing on the first day of the week, unfortunately. This was today's? Did you just do it or something? Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. The bell's going to ring soon.
Did you get my phone?
Page 19 is what it is. Okay, so finish those 4 for homework. Tomorrow we'll be practicing everything from today and yesterday, and then Tuesday, when we get back from the weekend, we'll have a quiz. It'll be a short 5-question quiz.